But there's also another question that we want to look at is, why did Jesus decide to bring Peter, James, and John with him? Because there are many times throughout the Gospels where Jesus goes off by himself to pray. He doesn't take anybody with him. He goes, it's just him and the Father. So why in this instance does he take the inner circle of the disciples with him? Why does he take Peter, James, and John with him? And what we see, and we saw in the passage, what we just read, is that they were so impressed by what happened, so impressed by what they saw, is that they say to Jesus, this is amazing. If you want, we'll build for you a tent or a house for you, for Elijah, for Moses. We'll just build a house and we'll just stay right here. We don't ever want to leave this place. And what I see in that is Peter, who often spoke too soon, spoke things that he probably shouldn't have said, as we all often do, I think, from time to time, is you see that same spirit in Peter that the religious church often has today. When I say religious church, we often talk about religion in a negative sense, but I don't mean that it isn't supposed to be a good thing. You look at James 1:27, it talks about pure and undefiled religion and what that is supposed to look like. The problem is when man gets their hands on religion, it often is not pure and undefiled. We have our own ideas that we want to accomplish with our religion. And oftentimes the religious church wants to hang on to and wants to keep things that God has long let go, that God has long moved on from. And then the church will build a house there so we can keep visiting it week after week. Things that aren't working anymore, that's not God's program anymore, but we keep going back there because we want to build a house over it, essentially, or a tent over it. And what you see a lot today is most religion builds itself around dead history. Right? It looks to the past of things that man has done, and man builds this program of religion that is not focused on Jesus. Because if you look throughout the Bible, now I was raised in the traditional Baptist church. You won't see the word Baptist in here. You won't see Methodist. The Methodists, they get their philosophy or their method from John Wesley. They look to John Wesley. There's no mention of Pentecostal in here. They're still back in Jerusalem. There's no temple there anymore, but they're still back in Jerusalem. They're focused there. There's no mention of Anglican. They wanted to get a divorce and the Pope wouldn't give it to them, so now you have Anglicans. And there's no mention of Catholic in here either. What they did is, all throughout the history, they freeze every saint in his place and they try to go through them. They're focused on dead history. And what's interesting is that we build these things, we create these things, and then we build a house over them and we keep going there. We focus on that, the house that we've invented, that house that we've built, just like Peter wanted to do. And that's why you'll notice in this passage that God didn't even let Jesus speak after Peter had this outburst. God speaks directly to Peter and almost tells him to just, Peter, shut your mouth, be quiet, and listen to Jesus. And what's interesting is that when the disciples then look up, only Jesus remained. Moses was gone, Elijah was gone, it was just Jesus that was there. The point being is that when we look up, when we lift our eyes and we shift our focus onto something, the only person that we're supposed to see is Jesus, nobody else.